Hello, welcome to this month's UKVS coaching session on creativity in art. I'm going to be leading it today as I am the primary art teacher at UKVS, and art is a huge passion of mine. What is art? Here are some examples of different types of art. There's art that's painted outside for anybody to look at. There's art that is an expression of how the artist might be feeling, these splatters of paint. They don't know exactly what it's going to look like when they're making the art, but they just feel that they need to do it. And finally, there's an image here of a sculpture, which is a piece of 3D art. And this particular sculpture has been carved out of wood, and it's a figurative shape. It's the shape of a person. It's not an exact representation, but it's very figurative. So art is thoughtful. Anthony Goldsworthy creates art in nature, and he enjoys playing with the material, exploring different materials that he encounters. And here's a spiral of stones which he cracked very carefully, and he used another stone to scratch the white patterns, and he's arranged them into a spiral. And Anthony Goldsworthy, he actually leaves his art where he makes it. So you might be going for a walk one day and you might come across something strange and beautiful, and that could possibly be a piece of art by Andy Goldsworthy. In the middle, we've got an illustrator. She's a printmaker, Katie Edwards, and she's made a piece of art called Think Big. Why do you think she's titled it Think Big? The cat's looking in the mirror, but he's not seeing a cat looking back at him. He's seeing a lion. Now, when we're making art, we can make it however we want. There's nothing to say that you can't change the rules of what's going to be looking back at you in a mirror. So this cat, he's very powerful. He knows that he's a lion inside. Finally, there's a very famous sculpture here by the artist Rodin called The Thinker. And this is really a representation of somebody being observed. You can see every single little detail in the model's muscles and the way that his pose is. He's really having a big think about something. On our right, we have a huge installation art, and this is actually a playground which has been crocheted by hand, a lot of it. And her name is Toshiko Horiuchi Makadam. And she believes that art should be fun. It shouldn't be in a frame in an art gallery. You should be able to touch it and swing on it and climb on it and play on it. So this is this absolutely fantastic installation of a humongous playground. I would absolutely love to have a go on that, and I'm sure you would too. Art is expressive. So artists use art to share how they're feeling or how they might observe the world. It can be an expression. So on our left, we have Vincent van Gogh, The Starry Night. Now, this is a very iconic image of a village at night. Can you see the sky? You can see every single paint stroke. He wants the artist to know Vincent van Gogh has made this painting, The Starry Night. It's an image of a village at night. And if you look closely at the sky, you can clearly see all of the different paint strokes that he put onto the canvas. He wants the viewer, the person looking at that, not to think it's a photograph, but to think it's a really super painting of a sky at night. And you can see all the colours, and perhaps this is how it looked to him. Maybe he was feeling a bit tired and he could see all the different tones in the night sky. Henri Matisse in the centre here, project for the Strana Forandola. This is a collage. He's used lots of different pieces of paper and carefully cut them and stuck them to form an image of two people. You can't exactly see. He's created with collage an image of two people. Now, they're not like our previous image of Rodin's The Thinker. I can't see every tiny muscle in their body. I can't even see their fingers or toes, but I know they're people. And they're doing something. They're moving. Looks like there's a man underneath with his arms stretched wide. And the lady, she's flying through the air. Perhaps they're dancers. Now, finally, we've got an artist here, a sculpture by Young-Shu Su, Groove in Dance. So this is a sculpture. And again, to me, it looks pretty figurative. It could look like something else to you, and that's absolutely fine. With art, we can all have different opinions about what we see and what we feel. But I see, again, very similar to the middle one, like people moving, people dancing. Looks like they're sort of doing a salsa dance. Their hips are swaying one way, their arms are out the other way, and maybe there's two or three of them. They're touching each other, they're close. Art is powerful. Many artists use this medium of making art to share opinions, to share maybe their anger or their frustration about things that are happening in the world, on the planet. And this is certainly the case for the artist Olafur Eilesson ice block installation. He created, it was in Paris, where there was a huge meeting of all world leaders to discuss climate change, to discuss how each country can do their bit to prevent climate change getting worse. So here he actually took pieces of ice from an iceberg that was floating in Greenland, and he brought them to Paris, and he put this outside where the politicians were meeting, and it forms a clock. Throughout the course of the meeting, which is a few days, the ice was melting, and he wants the politicians to think about the ice that's melting in the North Pole, in the South Pole, very far away from them where they can't see it. So it's easy for them to dismiss it, but he wants to bring it to their attention. Now, if you saw this piece of art, you might not exactly know what it's about, but sometimes you need to read a bit about the art and maybe find out what it is about before you can really understand the meaning. The central illustration by Lukas Iskaker is untitled, and it's of a whale. Does this whale look very happy to you? This whale looks really weighed down and heavy and getting strangled by the vines. And there's a power plant on top. What do you think this artist might want us to think about the art that she's created? What do you think this artist might want us to think about the art that he has created? It's another environmental issue, isn't it? It's about how the space where the whales live in the ocean is being taken over by humans. By humans' need to create power. Finally, we have a huge sculpture that's made from rubber, and it's inflated, and it's by a Chinese artist called Ai Weiwei. Now, I had the privilege to actually see this artwork fairly recently when it was touring in Lisbon. Now, Ai Weiwei, with this piece of art, he's created a refugee boat, but he's made it quite a bit bigger than life size. You can see that it's full of people, like it would be the people that are trying to cross the oceans to find a safer place to live. But he's made it just a bit bigger. And when you're standing by it, it's incredibly powerful to see all of those people squeezed into a boat all together. He's also chosen to use the same material that lifeboats are actually made from, but he's chosen to do it in black. Why do you think he may have done that? Does it make you feel happy when you see this boat? Or does it make you feel quite sort of uneasy and a little bit worried for the people in there, and it's a little bit scary? Yeah. So every single choice that artists make is usually for a reason. We're going to have a go at making our very own artwork. Before we do that, I just wanted to recap all the different things that art can be. Art can be an expression of your feelings. It can simply be an exploration of a material. Maybe you really want to just learn about clay, or how something like Andy Goldsworthy, the stones that he finds on the beach. It can be a way to provoke a thought or a feeling in others. It can be an exploration of your imagination. It can be a representation of something that you've observed. It could, for example, a person, an animal, or a landscape. There's going to be no rules within this art project now, each going to create a work of art. Now, I'd like you to think about something that's important to you that you would like to perhaps bring to our attention. We've seen artists already creating work about refugees, about climate. We've seen artists that just want to explore an idea what a zebra would look like without his stripes. But let's try to make a piece of art that has a little bit more meaning than that. So for me, I live near to a beach, and I cannot stand seeing all the litter on the beach. It makes me feel upset. I'm worried about the animals. So my issue that I've created my artwork about is about the environment. All along the beach, where the tide has washed, where the tide has reached to, there's piles of little bits of plant that have been floating on the water, and if you look closely in amongst all of that, you will often find little bits of plastic that are the same size, that float with the plant, but the animals, they can't tell the difference. I took my litter picking team down to the beach to collect some plastic and little bits of rubbish for the artwork that I'm going to make. This, in about half an hour, this is all that I found. Can you believe it? I was pretty shocked, actually. What can we see in there? I can see a lid, a ball, straws. Now, a lot of these things are things that you might use. Me too. When I'm using these things, I cannot imagine that they're going to end up on a beach somewhere. I even found a toothbrush here with no bristles anymore, and an empty tube of toothpaste. I found lots and lots of rope and string as well, and that's usually from fishermen or people working out on the water or out at sea. So let's see what I did with it. So here are all of the things that I managed to collect from the beach. It's pretty disappointing, actually, because it didn't look like much when I walked down onto the beach, but all of this stuff was hidden with all the little plants and grasses that were also on the beach. Now, I found this tennis ball, which has been played with an awful lot, and I've managed to cut it in half. And as I was cutting it, I got the idea to make a crab. It reminds me of the shape of a crab's body, and I trimmed it down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just start to play with the things I have, really. That's sort of how a lot of artworks are made initially. Just take what you have, start laying it out and wondering how it could go together. And then when you're happy, that's at the point where you say, okay, that's where I'm going to stop. So I've got absolutely loads and loads of these cotton buds, and they're going to be perfect for my crab's leg. In fact, I even found a real crab's leg whilst I was there, and I thought that would be quite good to look at to remind me of what the crab's legs look like. So I know that they have 8, and I've definitely got enough cotton buds to make 8 legs for the crab. So those are the main parts of the leg. Now I want to make the smaller parts, and for that I'm going to use my scissors. So just trim these pieces a bit smaller. And I'm just going to keep playing until I'm sort of happy with the composition, how it's looking. It might be quite nice to give the impression of a crab doing something in movement. And perhaps I can use some of this other material that I found, these ropes and other bits and bobs that I found, to add some more interest to my artwork. I wonder what this could be used for. It's sort of a little bit like a pincery. So I'm going to just keep fiddling. I'm going to have a little play. And I will keep you updated as to how I'm getting on. Okay, so I've just been playing for a few minutes now, and my crab is starting to come to life. I've added the legs and I've started to bend them in all different directions, and I found this lovely shape here which I thought could be the two pincers and some bits of plastic here. And then I found this lid and another little piece of net, and I thought that could be a fish. Perhaps my crab is hungry and he's scuttling towards a fish to gobble up. But as I was carrying on making it, I was just thinking about all the animals that actually do get trapped in this plastic that's either been discarded by humans on land or humans at sea. And I thought, maybe this is a rescuing crab. Maybe this crab has got caught in plastic, and so has this fish as well. Look, here he is in the net. And because they're both creatures of the sea, they're helping one another. So my crab is actually a hero. He's on his way to rescue the fish, to save his friend, his fellow sea creature, from the terrible plastic which he's caught in. So anyway, I'm starting to have a lot of fun and making a narrative with the things that I've found. So, you know, don't be afraid to change what you're doing as you're making it, because as you're playing with the material, as you're creating, then ideas pop into your head. So it's great just to go with the flow. I will continue. I'm going to use some of this rope to maybe make some sort of shapes where the crab and the fish are, whether it's on the beach or in a rock pool. And then I'm going to use some glue to stick it down, and I will post a picture of the finished artwork afterwards. Okay, so here's my finished artwork. I had an awful lot of fun playing with all the materials that I'd found on the beach, and I decided to stick it down with I found a magazine that had a photograph of water on it, so I ripped that up, and then I stuck it down with some of the rope, and I even used some splatters of paint to give it some movement. Now it's your turn. What are you going to create your artwork about, I wonder? What materials are you going to use? Have you got experience using felt pens or coloured pencils or Play-Doh or even the tablet? Perhaps you'd like to have a go at using a different material, and this could be a great opportunity for you to try using a new material. So your task this week is to think of something that is meaningful to you and have a go at making an artwork. Just let's have a play together, okay? And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing everybody's artworks, and I hope you enjoyed seeing how I created mine.